Welcome to Mainstream with Harpreet Singh Toor. आप सबनू प्यार भरी सत श्री अकाल, नमस्कार, आदाब and shalom. We are in 2025 and we are getting ready for another ride of our life. Please email me if you have any question, any suggestions on hstoor@gmail.com. Like I always say, I will be more than happy to have conversation like that. Okay, first of all, today is Maghi. Yesterday was Lodi. आप सबनू लोहड़ी दियां बहुत बधाइयां, माघी दियां भी बहुत बधाइयां. माघी दा मेला है जेड़ा, it's a big thing in Punjab, in Anandpur Sahib and Muktsar. So it is cold, it is bitter cold over there also, and it is, of course, this is winter weather here, and after a couple of years we are getting our own fair share of the cold weather, whereas on the west coast in LA they are getting burned. It's interesting that still a lot of people, they don't believe about the weather, that how fossil fuels and this increase in the temperature has made some areas more drier as compared to the other areas, and how the overall pattern of wind flow has changed. And that pattern actually is intensifying the fires in in California and LA. And I also know more than one person who within their family, they lost their houses. And it was interesting to know and see that how this is being played out politically. The concern is not about the people who suffered. The concern is not about the situation which is on the ground. It is all about trying to score the political scores, nothing more, nothing less. Senator Grassi made a comment, I think he's from Montana, about that they will not give a blank check to California for recovery efforts, which Joe Biden, the current sitting president, who will be president till Monday, till Trump takes the oath, that we are not going to give a blank check to them. What is interesting is this is always what the Republicans have done. Just look at the record. Don't go by what I say, okay? When hurricane hit Texas, before that Sandy happened, and it hit New Jersey and New York real hard, real bad, okay? And Ted Cruz, the Texas senator, he was like, oh, we should not be giving the money to these states at all, Then a hurricane hit Texas, and then he wanted 100% reimbursement from the federal government. Why? Because these two states are blue states and Texas is a red state. So same thing is being played now with the LA fires. Montana, the state actually survives on the funding from the federal government, which actually gets the money from blue states. California actually contributed more than 86 billion more than what California got back in shape of investment and other programs in 2024. 86 billion less than what it contributed to the federal income. And now when they need it, these Republicans who actually survive based on that funding which comes from California and New York and New Jersey, the blue states, they are complaining about that they will not give the help which is needed over there. We will look into it, we will look at left, we will look right, we will see where are that. It's like in Punjabi they say, Bakri dudh daugi, mingna pa ke daugi. There was a time when a tragedy will hit the nation, the people actually will support, irrespective of which party they belonged to. They will come out and they will say, okay, this is where the support is needed, let's go and do it. It is not like that anymore, and that is something which I always regret, that what has happened here. It's all about, they talk about Trump being transactional president. What kind of transactions are these? This is not about the country. This is not about his personal business. This is about United States. This is about US as a nation together. It's funny that when they say, oh, we will look into it, we will, those people who lost their houses, who lost their lives also within their dears and nears and dears. I will give you two examples. One person who died actually was a child actor who was blind, and he also had disease where he could not really move much. So his mom, by the time they were ordered to evacuate, and his mom was trying to reach to get him out, the fire had already engulfed the house. The speed at which the fire is spreading, it's amazing. And the winds are actually, not helping at all. And on top of that, Mexico and Canada, both these countries have sent in the firefighters and other instruments to help contain the fire. Whereas our president-elect is just treating them like, they are nothing, like telling Canada to make it 51 state, telling Mexico that I'm going to put tariffs, and Mexico is sending fentanyl and this and that. It's nobody's talking about, number one, how the demand and supply, which is the capitalistic system, right? If there is a demand for those drugs, only then there is a supply, and to get those demands filled up. Nobody's talking about how this demand actually reached that level and how to contain that. But using the wrong doses to rectify the disease, it's not going to help work like that. Anyway, going back to that, so that actor died, and then all of a sudden I was just watching on one of the channel a live news that this person, he is suggesting to the residents of the area, please leave the keys of your cars in the cars so that we can move the cars out of the streets to help the fire department to reach and contain the fire. And it was like, I'm like, well, this guy has a mask. I can see the fires behind somewhere, and I can see the smoke right there where he's standing. He has the mask. The newscaster, TV girl had the mask, and he's talking about this thing. And then the lady asked him who he is, what's his name, and then he gave his name. And he was one of the actor in Three Men and a Baby, and there is another show. He's a really good actor, and he's out there saying that I'm here to help. Who? The department, the fire department, the firemen. And here we have the incoming president and his whole team, including the other Republicans. They are literally, let me not use that word. It does not behove to use that kind of language, maybe for them. And that is something also, another thing, which I always look at. And there used to be a saying that don't use unparliamentary language, which means there was a limit there was sort of like a constraint individually on what to say and what not to say, and things like that. But nowadays, no constraint, nothing at all. And right now we have a president who is convicted felon, who actually, based on the US laws, cannot buy a gun now. Yeah, he didn't get any other punishment, but we will talk about it, about it when we come back in another segment. But going back there, so the LA fires, they could end up being the worst natural disaster. They are looking into it, how the fire got started. There may be somebody who did it intentionally. And on top of that, there are people who are actually, putting like some place on fire and knocking on the doors and telling them that you have been ordered to evacuate because everything is going on. When the family leaves, these people come in and take their stuff. These are the thieves, and because these are the thieves, they are actually using this method to steal from the properties of those people whose houses are already getting burned down to the ground. It is such a, disgrace, such a shame. But then again, that there is no bottom how much people can fall. If the incoming president can be so low character wise, language wise, then why we should be blaming all these thieves, which they actually are known as thieves, even though the incoming president, being a thief, has not been punished to be a thief. Let's take a break. After the break, I will be right back. Welcome back to Mainstream with Harpreet Singh Toor. Once again, my email is there, hstoor@gmail.com. Please feel free to contact, email, and if you have any questions or anything. The other thing which I want to talk about is we had, in last show we talked about Dr. Manmohan Singh, but there was not enough time to talk about Jimmy Carter, the former president of United States. He was one-term president, no doubt about it. And he grew up in Georgia. He actually came from the family of peanut farmers. His dad used to have the farm. They will grow peanuts and stuff like that. And where he grew up at that time, there were not that much machinery around, no running water, and there were areas where they had issues with the electricity also and all that. But, he ended up being the president. Yeah, he was one-term president. Ronald Reagan came in, no doubt about it. But he was the president which actually since inception of the United States as a country, and the history of United States, based on that, United States has always been on the war with one reason or the other, and he was the only president when US was not at war. One of the only president, rare, one of those rare breed. I think only about 26 or 28 years since US became free, that US was not involved in any war, either internal or external. His presidency was one of them. Iran hostage crisis took place during his presidency. He did everything, whatever he could, and they wanted to rescue the hostages, but the helicopter crashed in the desert. Like we in India, we believe kismat hai jehdi, you cannot change that. So apparently that's what happened. And he actually, they had to cancel that whole operation to rescue the hostages, and then they started negotiations to get the hostages home. A deal was made during his presidency before the election, but one of the top Democrat has been bought by the Republicans to work with not letting it happen while he is the president. Even after the election, they wanted this whole thing to be, those hostages released only after Reagan takes the oath. Even though Jimmy Carter, was able to get that deal almost there, but it was not done deal till the government on the other side announces. And this Democrat, the turncoat, if I may say, was one of the guy who actually was promised that he will get one of the, secretarial positions, which is like cabinet minister, like we say in India. So he actually was, and he didn't get that, but he definitely, got Jimmy Carter's second term killed. Also, inflation at that time, because the OPEC had just, declared that they will not supply the oil. There was limitations and everything was based on energy. And so inflation was real high, even though Volcker was one of the point man who brought the inflation down. And there is now the inflation is fought based on what Volcker did at that time. Okay, with Jimmy Carter. He was working on it, inflation was coming down, but it was not down enough. Same thing, what happened this time when Trump won the election. Inflation was high during Biden's time, but he did manage it without crashing the economy and everything. But people just were not happy. So he ended up losing the election. But he never gave up his duty as a human being. And till he died, he went on to, not just in the United States, but in other places also, building the houses for the poor, helping them, a lot of things. And he passed away when he was 100 years old. And actually, he was I would say, a gentleman president as compared to what we have now, who is coming in as a president and who was the president. So those kind of characteristics, those kind of personalities, they are not there anymore. We actually, when it comes down to politics, I understand, your fights. I understand that, okay, you have your own. It used to be, okay, Republicans talk about this, Democrats talk about this, but it's not like that anymore. Now, unparliamentary language is used. The people are threatened directly and indirectly, and just because one statement goes out from incoming president and his cahoots immediately start targeting the people. On social media, we have Joe Rogan. We have what's his name? One of the other guy, who actually lost a case and about $700 million, judgment against him for that Connecticut shooting, where he said that shooting was actually fake. It was, set up by Hollywood studio to do it. And then we had this guy who said that the birds are actually not the birds. Those are artificial birds being monitored and controlled by the Democrats. So what I'm trying to say here is people will believe whatever is said about the Democrats. Hillary Clinton was and other Democrats, they were blamed for, excuse me, drinking the blood of the children, killing them and drinking the blood. And someone actually in Washington, D.C. drove with a gun to the place where on the social media it was posted that at that place they get together and they kill the children and they drink their blood. And I'm pretty sure somebody over there, they are going to pick up my statement and cut it into pieces, just pick up the piece where I said, they drink the blood, and then say that, okay, Harpreet said it. But they will not show you what I'm talking about, what context I'm saying it. And that is the tragedy which is happening. And this is something which actually is not good for the future of our country, not at all. We just cannot have this kind of communication unless it is properly, that news is not there anymore. All the major newspapers are bought by all these billionaires. They now control the content. What they want to come out will come out. What they do not want to come out will not come out. And believe it or not, one of the reporter from Washington Post, which is one of the most, which was, I would say, one of the most trusted newspaper. I always relied on it. Washington Post, New York Times, I knew it is too much to the left, but still I knew about it. So the thing is that this is what is happening, and it is not good for incoming generations. Let us take a break. After the break, I will be right back. Welcome back to Mainstream again with Harpreet Singh Toor. So we are talking about all this happening. In the meantime, like at the beginning of the show, I talked about, a Trump administration coming in and their plans about how they plan to, around the people, put them in intern camp, or, like there is already a search going on, a third country where they can, literally transport these people and put them in their camp, because that country had a different laws. The US laws will not apply over there. It is like after 9/11, George W. Bush used Egypt and some other countries to let CIA use, third degree torture methods, even though the researchers have found and proved again and again and again that those methods do not give you the correct information. The people will admit to the crime just to save their lives, or to save their loved ones, because they will literally do anything as a human being to save their, their sisters, their brothers, their parents. And we saw literally, Punjabis, Sikhs in particular, saw in Punjab, it played that thing over there, and it played after 9/11, where some of the people who did not do anything, but they actually, they don't do anything, but they actually admitted, just because they were afraid that their loved ones will be tortured or raped or whatever it is. And now we are going to look at that aspect of this incoming administration, which I'm assuming that we will definitely see kind of behavior like that. And let's not forget one thing, that US is the only industrialized country where we have more people behind the bars incarcerated per thousand than any other country in the world, which is a advanced country. So there is a reason for that. And one of the reason, of course, is that the jails are run by individual entities, the profit making corporations or individuals, and they want their money and they will do everything and anything just to keep those people in behind the bars so that they can build the government that, okay, we did this, we did that. So that is immigration issue. And one thing which is happening during Joe Biden's time, Republicans and Democrats, they reached a deal on immigration to amend and change the immigration laws to come up with a new immigration uh, policies. But Trump killed it. Now after the election, because Democrats paid definitely they paid a price for undocumented people entering the country. So they are more willing to now go along with some of the Republican demands. So in the House, they have already passed it's called Laken-Riley Act. Laken-Riley actually is someone who got killed by an undocumented person. See, the tragedy is they take advantage. When I say they, I mean Republicans. And Democrats, I'm sorry, they do not really put the things in proper perspective. They don't talk about that. Even the media does not talk the way they should. More people get killed by the guns. The manufacturers who heavily donate to Republicans. Nobody talks about it. There is no talk about how it should be controlled. You can buy out and go out and buy an AR-15, which you don't need. It's if you are at war, then you need those guns. You don't need those guns for your personal entertainment, for going out hunting and stuff like that. But you can buy it. There's no restriction. And more people get killed by those semi-automatic weapons. And, those are not not much conversation on that, not much control on that. But yes, if there is one instance where one person committed a crime, they label every immigrant with that. And we do not have really the people with the backbone to make the statements that, okay, here is a chart. These are the legal people living here, especially the white supremacists, how much crime they commit. And this is the crime the other people commit. This is how much the contribution these undocumented people make to the economy, including to Social Security and other government-funded program, including paying the taxes. And this is what all these billionaires and trillionaires, have no tax liability paid at all, including our incoming president, including him. Nobody talks about that from that perspective, that this is what people, they should know. Let the people make an educated judgment. So that now that immigration bill is coming up, so let us see how it will take place. And we will see, how these things will, come into the play. We don't know yet, but definitely that will be another issue which will be exploited to the hilt. And I still have to see some Democrats who will really take up the challenge. There are some policies of AOC, which I personally don't like. I don't agree with those policies, some of the policies. But at the same time, she is a good debater, and she actually counters the false information which the Republicans try to put out. And she is really good at it. And we need some more people like that. Raskin is another one. I like him. He's going to be active. He will be in the face on the front. And we will see how this whole thing unwraps and how much this new immigration law will include what was not at that time Trump killed, and how much it will be different from that version which was agreed on. We will see as it comes to the floor. But till then, till it comes up and how it becomes as a permanent to go to the president desk, we will not know about it. But yes, that is something we have to watch. And also get ready. We have, today is the first day of the nominees being interviewed by the Senate. Hegseth is as a defense secretary. That hearing just started, and there are already issues on that. So let us go for a break. After the break, we'll definitely talk about it. But yes, be ready for it so that we can literally see where the things go and how far extreme measures will be taken against immigrants right after the break. Welcome back to Mainstream with Harpreet Singh Tour once again. So the confirmation of the nominations the hearings have started at in the Senate, but interestingly there are already issues about it, that FBI is not doing a thorough investigation which they need to do. They did not do it when the Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh was confirmed. And a lot of things came out later on because Republicans did not want it to happen. At that time, they controlled the Senate and they wanted Kavanaugh to get appointed by Trump because they really needed Supreme Court. I always say, I have been saying it for years, that Supreme Court actually is where the power balance is. Now the Republicans have 6 as compared to 3 by Democrats. The court should not be like that. But more and more new appointees who are coming to the court, they are based on that ideology of extreme ideology. Progress is what? We actually from moving from, tilling the fields with the horses or the, oxes, moving to the tractors, driving the cars instead of riding the horses. Now we have the smartphones in our hand where the information, this is called progress. Okay, progress is not about stifling the dissent, stifling the freedom of speech, using the freedom of speech as a tool to lie because you are a politician and somehow politically you may not be liable in the court of law because somehow it is like, oh well, it's a political statement and they made it, but you try to do that otherwise. You try to say something politically against the president, the FBI will be knocking on your door next day. I can bet that. But in the meantime, President-elect can say, or his cahoots can say anything, including Elon Musk. And interestingly, Mark Zuckerberg also is now the person who actually, canceled the account of Donald Trump after January 6th. Now he is singing to the tune of Donald Trump, whatever Trump wants, whatever Trump says, and also on his behest, he is demonizing Joe Biden. So we will see how this thing will play out. But before the end of the show, there are a few things I want to talk about Joe Biden, because he will not be the president, when I come back for my next show, he has done a couple of things really great, no doubt about it. Starting with infrastructure, which was hanging fire for more than 30 years. There was not a single solid infrastructure bill. He got it done. Then he had Inflation Reduction Act. Under that act, he put in the money to local industries. And then he has CHIPS Act, which actually is investment into more research on the chips and all those which are ultimately are used for AI, artificial intelligence and everything. And those are the big achievements as far as that is concerned. Bringing down inflation without having recession, that is his achievement. Making NATO strong, that is his achievement. Getting more countries into join NATO, that is his achievement. Containing China to some extent, that is his achievement. Okay. Now let us talk about the things which he has not been able to achieve. Okay. President Trump killed Iran deal, the 2015 US-Iran nuclear deal. Joe Biden, the current president, who is sitting president as we talk today, wanted to revive that with some few things, but somehow he never succeeded. That is one thing. Number two, actually withdrawal from Afghanistan was the first major setback to Joe Biden. He never recovered from that. He went against the advice of some of his advisors, and incoming president has promised that he is going to get that investigated and penalize the army chief of the time, Mr. Milley, because at that time General Milley did not go along with Donald Trump at that time, because Trump actually wanted to use army one way or the other to stay in power. January 6, punishment and everything, Joe Biden actually never wanted to go that far. That's why the House Democrats set up a January 6 committee and did the investigation to tie Joe Biden's hand to punish the people who did it, the Department of Justice. And that's why today we have a felon sitting in who's going to sit in the White House. Why? Because Department of Justice delayed the processing of the riots and everything. And I'm pretty sure it was based on what Joe Biden wanted. The other failure of Joe Biden is that he has not been able to push Israel and Hamas to reach a truce. Joe Biden did say that he will not supply arms to Israel unless Israel meets some of the parameters. Israel did not do it, but he never cut off the supply of the arms. Even today, before he is going out, he okayed another shipment of a couple of $1 billion of the armaments to Israel. In the meantime, Benjamin Netanyahu has been able to continue this total destruction of Gaza, where more than 45,000, that's the official figure, but I'm pretty sure that the number of people who died is much more than that. Okay? And they are still going on. They are still getting killed every day. There are no services on the ground, no health services, no food supply services, no infrastructure. Everything is totally destroyed. Okay? And International Court of Justice actually, which has issued warrant against Benjamin Netanyahu as well as against the Hamas leaders. Joe Biden stood with Bibi, Benjamin Netanyahu, whereas US was one of the main party to create that International Court of Justice. So what I'm trying to say here is those are the flaws of Joe Biden. And those flaws are going to also be part of his, when the history is written, that will also be written. And the biggest thing which will be written about is that how he actually sat on re-election of Donald Trump as a president again after committing all those crimes, whether those were crimes against individuals, whether he being a rapist, being a person who will, disrespect the women. And that is something, which has been baffling me, and I think it will baffle me till I die, that how come the women, they will actually vote for a person like that kind of character. I just could not figure it out. It is beyond me. And yes, there are also the men who call themselves as, macho man, that I'm the guy, I'm the person, this and that. And these are the people who actually, behind the closed doors, they actually, beat up their women. And, so those are the paradoxes. At the end of the day, I still believe Joe Biden is a gentleman president as compared to Donald Trump being a, excuse my French, rascal. With that note, till next time, good night and good luck.